So we're going to start with the depth first search. And there's a graph that we had to work with. This is a graph that you're going to be doing a DFS from. This graph has a A goes to all of these, E goes to D and F, C goes to E and H, D goes to E, F and G, E goes to H, F goes to D and G, and G goes to H. This is actually a graph minus the weights. For the depth first search, the weights actually don't make a difference to the outcome of the graph. That just put in the weights anyway, just to home, and G goes to E also. So we have 3, 5, 4, 4, 7, 2, 4, 3, 5, 2, 7, 6 here, 4 here, 5 here, 2, and D to G has a weight of 3. And that's our graph. Now, we're going to start at DFS from node A. One of the simplest ways is to build a table, and if you remember the strategy, we're going to start visiting at a certain point. Now, once we're at that certain point, we're going to look around, find all the edges all the nodes that we can visit. So we have a list of candidate edges that we're going to traverse. And then once we've built that list, we take one of those edges off and then do the traversal. Now, in a depth first search, we want to be adding things to some data structure and removing it from the data structure. And the same thing applies to the breadth first search. We're going to be adding our candidate edges to a certain data structure. And then when we want to visit, we're going to be removing from that data structure. Now, we did say that in the breadth first search, it would be good to we're going to be disciplined. We have that sheet of paper. We're going to look around, and even if we really, really want to go over there because they look like they have we smell the chicken frying on the pot over there, we're going to constrain ourselves to saying that the first thing that we put on the list will be the first thing we take off the list. So what would be a good data structure to use for the breadth first search? Stack, queue. Stack, or let's say we had a choice between a stack or a queue.
A stack.
A stack?
No, I'm not here.
Remember, with a queue is supposed to behave like those lines at the canteen in high school, where the first person that joins the line is the first person out of the line. That's a good queue. Of course, sometimes those lines behave like priority queues, where people kind of just cut in, choose their priority. But that's its own story. Now, we want a stack in the depth first search, but for the breadth first search, we want a queue. Because if we're going to be sticking to our discipline and saying that we want to just make sure that something joins at the end and comes off at the front, then after going all the way through, we want a queue. Now, we're going to be using the same process to do both the depth first search and the breadth first search. The only difference is that when we're maintaining our list of edges or group of edges, we're going to be using a stack for the depth first search and a queue for the breadth first search. So we're going to start by keeping track of where we visited. Then we can make a note of where we found whatever node that we're going to be visiting. So we're going to note the source. Then we're going to have make note of the new nodes that we've discovered. And then we have our candidate edges.
So what's the SRC?
Source. So we're going to start visiting from A. The question said we should. Start, we visited A. There's no source here. And from A we can discover some nodes. What nodes can we discover? We can discover B, D, G, E, and C. Up to them. So our candidate edges would be the edges to all those nodes. And the way we write it down would be as a set of pairs. So we have B from A, B from A, G from A, E from A, C from A. Now, we're going to be taking one of those things off our data structure, right? So all these go on at the same time. Now, one will come off, the first edge. So when this edge comes off our data structure, our program will then visit the node B. So B is now visited. The process of the depth first search pretty much traces somebody starting at a point, then going through the graph. Now, in the depth first search, you can only visit a node once, right? And what other rules? That's pretty much the basic rule. You can only visit a node once. However, once you're at a certain point, the backtracking will come up, but that's not really a part of the visiting process. You visit once. But once you're at a node, then you're looking around and you can then discover other nodes. So from B, source is A, you can discover from B, because we can only visit a node once, we don't rediscover nodes that have been visited. So we can discover F and D. Now, when we add these to the data structure, because we're using a stack, these new edges will then go in front of the other things on the data structure. So we have B from, or F from B, and
Candidate. Candidate.
so those are the new things that we're looking at. And then everything that was there before, this was the only one that came off, the rest of them are still in your data structure. They'll still be there. So we're D from A. A, then D from A. Okay, so one thing will come off. The thing at the front will always come off. So F comes off. That was discovered from B. And from F, what nodes can we then discover?
We can discover D and G.
From F, there's D and there's G. I'm going to draw this line to avoid confusion. So the new set of edges that we have looking at would be D from F and G from F, which would be in the list of things along with everything else. So there is D from B, then there's something that I've been avoiding getting into, but I think I'll get into it sooner or later. We're going to get into it right now. We can actually do some housekeeping and clean up this list. Remember that we're going to be only visiting a node only once. Every time something comes off, we're going to be visiting that node on the end. So we really don't need two ways to get to one particular node. So we could have actually crossed off all of these in here. Alright, to tell the truth, the first time I teach this, I normally let the extra ways to get to a particular node stay in there, and at the end we just pop them off. So later on, I'll be crossing off the alternative ways to get to a node. Every candidate edge here can be considered as a way to get to a node. So you can get to D from F, you can get to G from F. Here we see that we already have a way to get to D from B. But we're never going to use it because something has already cut in front of it in the stack. So later on we're going to be crossing off D from B, D from A. For now I'm just going to let them stay on that. At the end I just ignore them. The downside of that is that we'll have a lot more overhead in copying down. If you think it won't confuse you, I won't mind crossing them off, no. Would you be confused if I start crossing off?
I'm still not sure
Okay.
what the overlapping is. So, on the graph.
When we visited A, we figured out a way to get to node D, for argument's sake, from A, right? We can get to node D from A. Now, let me actually highlight the path that depth first search is taking. From here, I visited B. And then I visited F. Now, I could have visited D. Now, there is, in the list of things to do, well, the list of things that I can do, an edge so that I can go to visit D from A. But we didn't take that path, and it turns out that another way to visit D came in through B. And then later on, another way to visit D came in through F. So because of how the depth first search works, in that we're going to be taking things off our candidate edges, and we're going to be taking off things from the front of our candidate edges. And because we're using a stack, when you add new stuff, we're going to be adding it on top. We're going to end up never using these paths. So we could actually go through some admin and cross them all down.
Okay. Or you could shade the ones that you visited as you go along.
Alright, I'll just use the arrow
Okay.
and trace it.
Okay.
Alright, tell you what, I won't cross them off. I'll let them stay for now, copy down everything, and then maybe when I'm doing something else, I'll cross them off.
I'd want to see the trace though.
You definitely will see the trace.
Okay.
Because the tree that you get from that will be important.